Hey, welcome to Bluejay Banter. Right here live at Let It Fly Sports Bar in downtown Omaha. Tim Kruger along with Ross Ferrarini. Thanks for joining us. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe and like button. It helps us out a ton. We've been growing and growing and growing in the last year or two, and we've been doing it on YouTube, and we appreciate all your support and help. Special show today. A little bit later on, you're going to hear from head coach Greg McDermott. A lot going on, obviously, today. The big news, they're going to rename the Championship Center the McDermott Center. And and then today the team gathered for the first time to start summer workouts. So we had a ton of stuff to talk about. A lot of stuff going on in the world of college basketball, the schedule, and so on and so forth. So stick around and listen to that. I want to thank our great sponsors, Equitable Bank, West Pacific Dental Group, and Infusion Brewing Company, and BlueJayBanter.com. When we were last with you a couple weeks ago, we talked about baseball.
Yep. With
the Ed Service going into his last season and bringing on a coach, so to speak, assistant coaches in waiting for next year. They haven't gotten one yet, haven't named one yet. There are several players that have gone into the portal from the team. But don't you think that's pretty much expected? Because this isn't the only time something like this has happened. I've seen it happen in other sports, and guys transfer, and the administration of that team usually says, hey, we know, some people might be leaving because of the uncertainty, but we feel we've got a great chance to bring in other people now.
Yeah, I'm not near as privy to the transfer portal in baseball, so I don't know what's, unusual and what's not as far as transfers are concerned. I'll be honest, the coach in waiting thing is a little bit interesting in my mind. I don't know that I've really seen, like you don't see that in college basketball, really, unless it's somebody that's been on the staff for a long, long time. One that pops into mind really quickly was down at SMU when Larry Brown was coaching. And Tim Jankovic was his coach.
Yeah,
yes.
Yep.
Yes. That, and that one, I guess that one worked out to okay success. I mean, Jankovic wasn't horrible at SMU by any stretch.
But it's something similar.
Something similar. Larry Brown was relatively older at that point, though. I mean, he was well into his 70s, so he didn't really have a ton of years probably left coaching at that level. So and he had not been there either. That was a brand new hire for them. So. Interesting how it plays out. I guess we'll kind of wait to see who they end up bringing in.
Right, and for folks that don't really think about it or know about it, like the reason they do this is simply recruiting. Because if you didn't bring somebody in, they'll say, well, this staff's not going to be there next year. Why would you want to go there? And you would get zero recruits, And this, obviously, during the summer is a big time for it here.
You're saying as opposed to them just announcing if this is services last year without any sort of backup plan. That's what you're saying?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And they feel that they can bring this guy, and then he'll say, hey, I'm going to be here next year.
Yeah.
And he can take a big chunk of the recruiting load on his shoulders.
Right.
Now you probably, if you bring someone else in, then you're probably going to lose some of the staff you already have because they're going to know they're not going to get, moved up. But it happens all the time in sports. So we'll just monitor that, keep that going. We're kind of in the dead period now. All these the regionals are wrapping up today, so we almost have the entire regional field, super regional field set. UConn has a chance to get in the super regionals.
St. John's lost.
St. John's lost, but UConn has a chance tonight playing Oklahoma, and Evansville into the super regionals, which is really cool. Old Valley School and a little Valley School, probably one of the smaller enrollments in the Valley. Yeah. And so it's kind of cool to see them get in. They were always pretty decent in baseball, but they weren't, when I think back to the Creighton days, it was Creighton, Wichita, Southern Illinois, and Illinois State and Indiana State were the five teams that come to mind. Missouri State was good.
Indiana State had a good showing.
Yeah. Missouri State was always good.
Indiana State had a nice showing against somebody. They pounded, I think, Illinois or somebody yesterday.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
Yeah, they were good this year.
I don't know if they got through.
They were in at large, actually. So, but at any rate,
it's been fun. It's been fun to watch some of these regionals. I don't pay a ton of attention to college baseball, but I looked this weekend at some of the different regionals. I had on the Nebraska game briefly yesterday. They end up losing to Florida, who then goes on to upset Oklahoma State And Florida, we were talking off air, a team that sounded like everyone was kind of annoyed that they got in even with barely 500 record, and they end up going to the Super Regional. So disappointing. I think tying it back to Creighton baseball. I remember when we were on in April, we all kind of thought this Creighton team might be a shoo-in to make the NCAA tournament at that point. And
had they just gotten in. Had they just, obviously had to win a few more games in conference, but had they done that, just gotten the Big East tournament, I think they probably got a good. They had enough. They have enough quality wins, especially another team that got in, Kansas State, the team that Creighton and Nebraska both beat. I mean, it's crazy. But we would like to tell you about Equitable Bank. 2 great locations: Old Mill location just north of the Charles Schwab headquarters, and their newest location on Pierce Street in Elkhorn. Equitable has evolved with technology by providing new and improved services to customers while offering superior customer service and satisfaction. They will take the headache of banking away from you. They are the bank of Bluejay Banter, so check them out. Their personal checking options, which include no minimum balance and free online payments. It's personal checking made easy. So go to equitableonline.com. Check out all they have to offer. That's Equitable Bank. We take banking personally, and they do answer the phone on the first ring. So we were talking a little bit off air that the Championship Center named for Coach McDermott, and you'll see in a little bit we were able to catch up with him this afternoon. You'll see that interview here shortly, but Max said something about, I thought... Is
it specifically for Coach Mack, or is it on behalf of the family?
It's for they listed...
I thought it was...
Ruth Scott listed Coach Mack for what he's done, and then she had like a 2 or 3 paragraph statement, and then it came into the family, and then so I asked Coach Mack, and he says they usually I don't know what they're trying to tell me here. They usually name buildings for people that die. But even for a guy like him, as much as he's accomplished, it's got to be pretty overwhelming. I know Bruce, when they named the Rasmussen Center, he was like blown away by that. You know?
Yeah. It's beyond obviously well deserved. I mean, he is you think of the growth trajectory of this program from day one when he stepped into the old gym to where we're at now. I mean, is pretty unbelievable. So it's very, very well deserved, and that facility is as top notch as it gets in college basketball. So it's fitting to have his name on it.
Yeah. We actually discussed that actual point. I said, God, I can remember talking to you in Sokol Arena in your introductory press conference. Yeah. And you were like, Dan's got a good thing going here. You just got to maybe do a couple tweaks and stuff. But we just, my goal is just to keep this going, and I go, keep it going. Look where, you had any idea of the trajectory that we'd have, But well deserved. Thursday, June 20th. I don't know if more information is going to come out about it, but that's the day they're officially going to dedicate it. And so I don't know if I don't know what kind of coverage, but we'll keep on tabs of that. That'll kind of be during the heavy time of the College World Series. So we will not be doing shows. We'll be doing a show next Monday, and then we'll take 2 weeks off during the College World Series because it's pretty much nuts downtown here. Then we'll be back with you right after the 4th of July holiday and talk a lot about what we see. Hopefully we'll get some reports on how some of these young guys look. I'm sure they're going to be very excited to be here. Jackson McAndrews, Ty Davis, Larry Johnson. Yep. And then obviously the 2... Are
those the only 3? Am I missing something?
No, that's only 3. Yeah. And then the 2 transfers, although Pop Isaacs had hip surgery, so he's going to be out for a little bit, recovering, but it's going very well. So something they want to take care of before the season got going. So a pretty exciting time, I'm sure, when you get the gang together for the first time. Yeah. Did you have the rules have changed? When you played, did you have the summer workout things?
No, we didn't do anything in the summer besides lift and play pickup
and play at the summer league.
Yeah. The summer league was still going back then. The summer league was pretty good back then.
It was fun.
It's changed. I don't even think they do the summer league anymore.
Everybody go to watch the summer league. It was really cool. It was really cool when Nebraska played too.
Yeah, the original OSA.
Because then you get a Nebraska-Creighton matchup a lot.
Yeah, those were good.
I remember I was at one. I forget where it was at. It had to be over in Council Bluffs somewhere because they played over there a few years. Corver and Tolliver were both there. Like Corver played on a team with Joe Dabbert. I mean, I go, hey, we're just sitting, Heath and I are like, we're just sitting here watching a couple NBA guys.
That would have been back in the day, because I remember they had it at Omaha South High School for a few years in there too.
That might have been the year.
That could have been right before that they changed it to those 4 courts at the original OSA location on like 120th.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's where I went to most of the time, but you're right. That might have been where I went to. It was at Omaha South, because I remember going down there for some summer league.
Yeah, but I mean, things have changed so drastically with what they can do with these kids now compared to, just 12, 15 years ago, which is sad. That's when I was in college last. So,
because Mac was saying they can go all the way to the end of June, then they take a break 4th of July, then they come back and they go into August, and then they send them home for like 2-3 weeks until school starts.
Yeah, now
it's
the whole
a much
team
longer period.
The whole team was here in Omaha because they wanted us to at least do lifting and conditioning, which we could do. But the on the court stuff, you were basically left to your own devices to organize workouts with your teammates or do shooting or your own workouts and then just play pickup. So you were definitely there during the summer months, just like they are now, but it wasn't near as structured. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and just so you know, they have certain times they can only spend X amount of time on individual workouts, X amount of time on team stuff. It's not like a full-blown season type thing where they, it can spend 4 hours a day or something like that. But at any rate, that'll be going all across the country. The other thing to look forward to, when is the NBA draft? Do you know the exact date?
I think it's the same day as, I think it's the same day as Doug's. Or excuse me, as Coach Max, the McDermott family, the center.
Thursday?
Yeah, I think Thursday, June 20th, I think.
I think Trey was hitting the West Coast today with workouts. Baylor was on the East Coast.
Yeah. Now the $1 question is Baylor going to be a first rounder?
I've seen most projections having first round right now. Have you?
You know what? They might have changed it. I'm wrong. The NBA draft is now Wednesday, June 26th, and it goes 2 days now. Thursday, June 27th is the second day.
It goes 2 days.
Yeah, they switched it.
Even though they have only 2 rounds.
They stretch out viewership.
Wow, that's going to be a long program.
Yeah. I think Baylor's got a legit shot to go in the first round. What ends up happening with Trey, I guess, depends on
I've seen him projected to go to the Timberwolves. What would you think of that? On a few drafts.
You're talking about Trey?
No, Baylor.
Be nice for him.
No, I mean, do you think
in the Western Conference Finals?
But I know they're over the whole course of the season, they weren't a great 3-point shooting team, but toward the end of the season, they were one of the best in the NBA 3-point shooting. So I'm just that's what Baylor's going to bring to the table. Let's face it.
I think he's going to bring a lot to the table. I mean, just at his size and his ability to rebound and see the floor. I think if to the naked eye, if you're just an NBA fan and you watched, a couple of Creighton games and you saw a shooting percentage, you say, oh, he'll be a great, 3-point shooter. But I think he can bring a heck of a lot more to the table. So we'll see.
With Minnesota, with Rudy and Cat in there, he's probably not going to get very many rebounds.
That might be true. Yeah, that could be true.
But anyway, obviously Creighton community excited for that. So that's on Wednesday, June 26th.
It was tough fall.
And 27th.
Tough fall for your Timberwolves.
Yeah, I mean, they're not. I don't follow the NBA. They're not my team. I don't cheer from. But I did watch the games. But I mean, it was very predictable. I thought they would just get blasted in Game 5 because it's kind of the MO of how they've gone here over the last series and a half.
You're a Minnesota guy. You claim the Vikings and the Twins, but you're not going to claim the Timberwolves.
Well, because I've been watching the Vikings and Twins since I was 2 years old. I never really got into the Timberwolves. Have been bad for a lot of years.
Well, I guess they probably came to the city in the mid '90s, I think, or maybe the late '80s. They probably came to Minneapolis.
Very late '80s, I believe.
Late '80s.
They played the Metrodome for 2 years.
Yeah.
Before the arena was built, and now they're looking at building a new arena. The ownership right now, the ownership is a big deal there.
Situation's in flux.
It's just a mess. Like all of a sudden, what's his name? Taylor wants the team back again now because they're good.
All of a sudden they're good, and he thinks he can fetch a higher price, which he probably could.
I've seen A-Rod right there by the bench on every game, so he apparently still thinks he's in the deal.
It's kind of a weird dynamic because A-Rod and his partner are there courtside every single game, especially during that playoff run, but so is Glenn Taylor. And so it was like A-Rod and his partner, whose name's escaping me, they must clearly Lori. They must clearly still think that they've got a shot in court to be able to buy the team.
Well, in Minneapolis, the funny joke was if they'd have won the title, Well, who would accept the trophy? There'd be quite a wrestling match.
Yeah, that's true.
But that's the news of the day, the McDermott Center, and that's fantastic. And so now we want to speak about our fabulous sponsor, Infusion Brewing Company of Omaha. Obviously, they are the home of the Let It Fly beer, which you can get right here at Let It Fly Sports Bar and get at the arena for basketball games. But I happened to go down to Infusion Brewery the other day, and Ryan down there was kind enough to invite me down, and they were brewing the vanilla bean beer that day and bottling it, putting in cans, and so forth. So he goes, here you go. This was done 10 minutes ago. Have this. They have, though, this is what I'm excited about. They've got a dill pickle beer.
Interesting.
Do you like dill pickles?
I do.
You're going to love this beer if you like dill pickles. I'm telling you,
dill pickle beer. I don't know if I could.
Unbelievable.
Phil, you need
to get crazy. It. I'm telling you. Dill pickle beer. It's called pretty clever what they did. They have the label on the can is pretty cool, and it's a pickle like holding a racket. Get it pickleball? So they called it pickle smash. Pretty clever. But it is so good. And Ryan down there was telling me some people are taking it and mixing it like with Bloody Mary mix.
I could see that being actually pretty good. So,
and putting it in their Bloody Marys and stuff. But I had a can the other night. And I was like, this is fabulous. It's great. And it's not like drinking pickle juice. It's much more toned down than that, but it's very good. So that's a beer to look out for. Now, obviously, I mentioned the vanilla bean and so many others that they have. But check them out. Two great locations. One over in Benson, and one in Southwest Omaha, where their main brewing takes place. Infusion Brewing Company, fine sponsor of Bluejay Banter and a sponsor of the Bluejay Banter Golf Tournament, which we will talk about right now. The 12th annual Bluejay Banter Golf Tournament will be July 27th, 8 a.m. over at Dodge Riverside, right across the river over here in Council Bluffs next to the Harris Casino. We're going to have tons of raffle prizes, tons of silent auction items, as we always do. Huge hole prizes on every hole throughout the tournament. And then the big special treat this year is after the tournament, we're coming right down here to the Let It Fly Sports Bar, have the post-game party, the meal, the awards, all the drawing for the raffles and the silent auction items. And, we get the whole bar to ourselves here. They're shutting down the whole place. So thanks, Al, for that. And Phil, thanks. And so it's going to be a great time. So sign up today. Just Google Bluejay Banter Golf Tournament. It'll come up. You'll click. You'll see a perfect golf event. Click on that. You can go to Twitter. You'll see our both the QR code and the website. Both there on our Twitter page, on our X page, whatever you want to call it.
But Dodge is a good track for that too.
It's a great track for that. Because you have a nice mix of holes. It's not overwhelmingly difficult.
Nope.
Yet the course was in fabulous condition last year.
It was.
And we have a hole for a hole-in-one, or not a hole-in-one, close to the pin for a cruise. And that's usually done on I think it's 15, where it's about 180 yards, 170 yards. So it's a good hole for that.
It wasn't near as hot last year either.
No.
The year before, 2022 was brutally hot.
But see, we want it to be nice. It'll be 8 in the morning, so we want it to be nice and warm. Everybody, works up a good thirst, then comes down here, has a great time.
Yep.
So go to that website. It's all done on that website. Bluejay Banter Golf Tournament. Google that. Click on the perfect golf event, and that'll take you right to our website. You sign up there, and maybe you're not a golfer and you'd like to come anyway. There is an option on there for you come just to the post party, so you can do that as well. And we always invite, we have tons of sponsors every year. So if you're interested in sponsoring, there's tons of sponsor options on that page as well. So check it out. It's the Bluejay Banter Golf Tournament, July 27th, 8 a.m. We're about a third full already, which is way ahead of schedule where we normally are. So you'll want to get signed up. We have some special sign-up options, some incentives, as you will, if you go to our X account and take a look. So if you do that, you'll get some free stuff. So check it out. All right. I hear there's supposed to be some word on that Vegas tournament later next couple weeks. So, there are some interesting things with that when I started looking at the schedule. There's not only like us with Alabama, obviously we wouldn't want to play them again, but there's 2 Big Ten teams in the thing. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of scheduling things. So I'm thinking they might go to just the round robin, like 3, these 4 teams just play each other and these 4 teams play each other this year. So they avoid the rematches and the conference games and so forth, because even if you did a full 8-team bracket, you can't avoid it. I mean, if 2 teams end up losing both games, they're going to play each other in the final game. So one thing we do know almost for certain, that Houston will be on our side of the bracket. So now that's
good
Houston,
test.
Kansas, Alabama.
Yeah.
And UConn. So we could be playing like 4 of the top 5 teams in the country.
But we always play UConn.
I know, but I'm just saying, considering that they're, and
Nebraska will probably be pretty good again.
Right. But I'm just saying, as far as the upper echelon, because most people have Alabama, UConn, Kansas right there, 1, 2, 3, 4, somewhere in there.
Yep.
I think people that are saying three-peat for UConn, I mean, you can't, I'm sorry, it could happen, but you can't lose the talent. They've lost over the last 2 years, and
you know what? I don't disagree, but I would have said the same thing after losing Jordan Hawkins, Andre Johnson, and Adama Sanogo, and they ended up winning.
I did say the same
again, and this team was arguably better than that team. Not arguably, they were.
But so. you even though that you had you had Klingon coming in as a freshman who was highly acclaimed. But you had some good pieces still coming in. Caravan's back now, so that'll help him out. Johnson's not. Maybe he'll improve, but he's not Klingon.
No, he probably not. But he's a nice piece. I mean, to have a guy like,
don't get me wrong,
he would probably. Stanley Johnson would probably start on 97% of NCAA Division I teams. I mean, he was pretty darn good. Was he to the level of a Zach Edey or a Kalkbrenner or a Klingon? No, probably not. But I thought I'll give you for instance, Khalil Ware, who was a very talented player who originally played for Coach Altman at Oregon, then played this last year at Indiana. He's a really talented guy that they think could be pretty good at the next level. I mean, I thought Stanley Johnson totally outplayed him in the game that I watched at Madison Square Garden early in the season. So there's, they've got some pieces. It's going to be interesting. I'm not going to sit here and say I know everybody that they've got through the portal. I haven't paid that much attention. I'm kind of portaled out at this point. So,
well, you lose Newton too, and then
you lose Newton, and you lose Stephon Castle, and you lose Cam Spencer.
A lot of people aren't even talking about Spencer.
Yeah.
He was the guy that made that team go.
Yep.
I mean, seriously, I think he's the biggest loss. I'm not sure. Mahaney bringing him in, I'm not sure he's going to be able to fill that role like Spencer. That's
right. They are bringing in Mahaney. Yeah. Yep.
But we'll see. But they certainly, if they didn't have a target on their back last year, they certainly have one this year. And can you imagine the game here against UConn is going to be, after what happened last year, it's going to be pretty special.
Yeah, should be a fun one, no doubt. I'm seeing a lot of people showing Xavier love next year.
Fremantle's coming back,
top
right?
25. Yeah, Fremantle. I think Hunter is coming back as well. Obviously, he was hurt all year.
That's 2 good pieces right there. Plus, they have that one freshman or sophomore guard that played really well last year. So, and you got Sean Miller, so you're always going to be in it. And then obviously St. John's. Everybody's talking about them.
Yep.
So the league is just, man, if you're
they get Kadari. I got Kadari Richmond to move over sides of town.
Yeah. I've never been a big fan. Never been a big fan. I think he's a little bit to automatically slate him as first team every year. I'm just like, I just don't see it. But a nice piece. Don't get me wrong. We talk about this a million times, but man, if you're like Butler and DePaul, it's hard to make traction and move up in this league.
And I thought Butler had a decent roster last year. Obviously the game that they couldn't miss when they played us at home and beat us at home. I mean, I thought, just looking at that team, now they made a lot of shots that game, but I was thinking to myself, God, they could go on a little run here at the end of the year, and they just could never quite put the full thing together. But they gave UConn a run at home. But you're right. It's hard. It's going to be hard to crack into that upper echelon.
Speaking, we've kind of went into this. So Eric Dixon is back at Villanova for his 25th season.
God, it does seem like he's been there for forever.
I was shocked. I thought for sure last year was year 5.
But Tim, people are saying the same thing about Kalkbrenner.
Oh, yeah. The other guy back in Creighton history that people said was Nate Funk.
Yeah.
Everybody said, oh, my God, the guy's been there for 8 years, That's what it is. So we get an opportunity to watch him go 7 of 9 from three-point land like he does against us every year.
Yeah.
Although someone made a point, yeah, but next year we maybe have a guy that we can really put out there on him, Jason Green. Same size, Well, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Good point if he develops. But that's another team that until they announced he was coming back, they have picked up nobody, and there's a lot of rumblings about what's going to happen next year.
Yeah, and they were
the same way as Seton Hall.
They're supposed to get the good guard from VCU, and he ended up backing out and going back to VCU, which made some waves on Twitter.
Yeah, so there's that. I want to thank everybody, Dr. Hogan and everybody over at West Pacific Dental Group, longtime sponsor of Bluejay Banter. If you have dental emergency or just need a checkup, West Pacific Dental Group is the place to go. They're my dentists. They do a terrific job. So check them out. They will give you compassionate care and consult you on every move. So call them today, 402-697-0765. That's 402-697-0765. Okay. We've covered everything we're going to cover right now, and so we want to thank you for joining ahead of time. But right now, stay with us, and right now you're going to hear our interview with Coach Mack earlier today. Thank you.
Hey, we're here with head coach Greg McDermott of the Creighton Blue Jays. Thanks for joining us, Coach. Hope all's well.
Everything's good, Tim. Happy to join you.
Oh, great. Well, let's just break into the kind of breaking news today that the Championship Center will now be called the McDermott Center. I would guess even a guy like you with the status and stature that you have, it's got to be a little mind-blowing to see your name up on a building.
Yeah, I thought you needed to be dead first, so maybe they're onto something that I'm not aware of. But no, seriously, it's an incredible honor, and I'm certainly humbled by it, especially having the opportunity to get to know Bill Scott and call him a friend like I was able to do during my time in Omaha. So the fact that this was his wish and it's something that he and Ruth and the family wanted, obviously there's a tremendous amount of pride and certainly couldn't be more thankful to the Scott family for, bestowing this incredible honor on our family. It's doesn't seem like we're worthy of that, but certainly Bill and Ruth have done, and their family have done so much, not just for Creighton, but for the Omaha community in general. And, they just continue to be incredibly supportive of this community.
Yeah, I don't know if you give yourself a chance to look back, but I remember talking to you in Sokol Arena, your introductory press conference, and you said, Dana's got a good thing going here. I just want to keep it going, do some tweaks and so forth. And you look back there and, you thought, well, we're close or almost there. And look at how much this thing has grown and grown and grown and keeps going. It's incredible.
Yeah, it's crazy to think about, just, from our days in the Valley and, to making the transition into the Big East and really having that be a seamless process. Certainly Doug and Jahans and Grant and Ethan and that group had a lot to do with it. Austin Chapman, some really, really good teams that helped us transition. And then, Bruce Rasmussen's foresight to build this beautiful building that I'm sitting in. That was when we were still in the Valley with not even a thought about changing conferences. So, I'd hate to think where we would be without this building, and whether we would have been able to grow and compete at the level that we are now without first class facilities. So, somebody a lot smarter than me saw some things coming, and fortunately we were prepared for it when it happened.
That's just a silly question that fans bring up once in a while. I mean, obviously the Big East is awesome. New York is awesome. Do you ever miss St. Louis?
I think everybody misses St. Louis. There was just something about it. Our fans could jump in the car and, drive down for the weekend. And, I think that, in talking to some of our younger fans that are, in their 20s now, that's some of their greatest memories of Creighton basketball in their childhood, is loading up the family and going to St. Louis for the weekend. I think we'll always miss Arch Madness. I think that was something that, and Dana had incredible success there during his tenure here. And then we were fortunate enough to win a couple our first few years. But, I just think there's a lot of great memories, from our fans that they've shared with their families as a result of Arch Madness. And New York City's a little harder to get to, but the Big East tournament's not bad either.
No, it's not. But there was nothing like going in that arena and seeing half that bowl just all blue.
It was incredible. It was incredible. I remember the championship game against Wichita, and, really the arena was half and half, and it was in an incredible environment, for us to play our last Missouri Valley Conference game and to experience that and to, be on that stage one last time before we moved to another conference was something I'll never forget.
Well, congratulations on the honor. Shifting gears a little bit, you got two guys in the NBA draft, Trey and Baylor. Do you speak to them very often about it?
Yeah, I was just texting, trying to get a hold of Trey to find out where he is this week. I know Baylor's got 3 workouts this week, so he's really Trey just texted me Sacramento, Phoenix, and Utah, so he's busy this week too. It looks like he's on the West Coast, and Baylor's making an East Coast swing. I think he's Minnesota, New York, and DC this weekend. So they both appear to be doing really, really well. I'm trying to figure out how to juggle the NBA draft. I think Trey's going to the draft. I don't think Baylor is. So I might. The draft is going to be 2 nights this year for the first time. June 26th is the first round. June 27th the second round. So somehow I've got to figure a way to split myself up or come up with a body double or something so I can be at both places. But it's, I think there's good things on the horizon for both of them. Certainly Baylor helped himself, I think, in the combine, and has had some great workouts. And the feedback from Trey, after not playing great in the first session of the combine, played really well the day I was there. And I think he's done well in some combine or in some workout situations as well. So excited for what the future holds for both of them. I think they both have a lot of really good basketball ahead of them.
When you're out recruiting, how often does that come up? I mean, I know when the guys walk into the McDermott Center, they see the pictures of all the guys that are in the NBA up there. But does that, how big of a selling point do you think that is?
Most of the people that we compete against also have the same selling point, because a lot of them have guys in the NBA. Even DePaul, that wasn't great during that time. You got Max Strus and there's one more. Paul, what's Paul's last name? I lost his last name here for a second, but they have 2 guys in the NBA right now.
The big dude in the middle.
Yeah, he was good. But as you get older, you forget names. But
Paul Reed.
Paul Reed. There you go. I think it certainly helps. And that guys can develop in our system and have a chance to play at that level. And certainly Doug's done it for 10 years, and Kyrie and Justin were there for a little while, and hopefully we got some guys that are going to go back, not just this year, but moving into the future as well.
So all the players are in town. The roster for this year. Kind of maybe just explain to fans that don't understand, like what's the time period that you have with them? What do you do, and so forth?
Yeah, we brought them all in this weekend. A lot of them, were around here in May, but all the freshmen arrived yesterday. Pop's been here a couple of weeks. Jemiah got here Saturday. So we've got all the new guys on campus. We'll keep them for 4 weeks and begin our summer workouts, send them home for a week over the 4th of July, and then bring them back for another 4 weeks, end of July, early August, before we send them home for a few weeks before school starts. So, some team workout stuff that we'll do, a lot of individual stuff on the floor as well with my staff. Trying to get the new guys up to speed. The summer is the time to learn some terminology, learn some positioning things, get a basic grasp of what we're trying to do on both ends of the floor. Last summer, we added probably more offense than we had done in the past in the summertime. I think we're going to continue down that path. I thought it was an easier transition into practice, having, maybe 15 or 20% of what we do already in. So we'll work on that again this summer. And, a lot of times, I'm part of some of it, not all of it. I think the summertime's an important time for my staff to really take charge and run some of these workouts. I also think, my voice, if I want it to be effective in November, December, January, February, and March, it's hard to have them hear that same voice, 10 or 11 months a year. So I become a little bit more of a cheerleader in the summertime and let my staff grab hold of the team and really institute some of the things we want to get put in before we start in September.
I don't think we've talked to you since you've had the additions in the portal. Just speak a little bit about the guys that came in.
Yeah, obviously we're excited about the freshman class. I think Ty, Larry, and Jackson, have an incredibly bright future here, and I think they're going to have an opportunity to see the floor this coming season, and we'd like to get them on the floor. And you lose a couple guys like Trey and Baylor, to be able to get in the portal and find a couple guys that can replace them that fit in with the 4-man that we return. And then you get Kalk, the bookend with Steven and Kalk. But Pop was all Big 12, unbelievable competitor. Has been a winner really everywhere that he's been. And, he's coming off some off-season surgery on his hip that will keep him out probably till August 1st. But his rehab's going great. And, we recruited him out of high school, so we're very familiar with him and what he brings to the table, his ability to play on the ball and off the ball. And then, Jemiah, impressed us, playing in a system at Arizona State that's much different than ours. Faster pace. They probably, they shoot a lot of 2-point shots, and we don't do that. So I think his efficiency numbers were probably skewed in a negative way because of some of his shot selection. And I think Pop falls into that as well. And we just think that our system will create more open shots for them. And I think some of the efficiency numbers will take care of themselves just by playing in a different system. And the rest of it, I'm hopeful that we can help them with their decision making. And I think they both yearn to play in a system where the ball moves and people share the basketball, and it's an unselfish brand of basketball. And, we feel like we've really addressed our needs with those two.
Well, as you know, my son lives in Phoenix, so he's probably one of the rare people that watched all Creighton games and all Arizona State games. And his first comment was Jemiah really causes mismatches on both ends of the floor.
Yeah, he's extremely athletic, and we lost in Trey Alexander, a guy that could go get a shot at the end of a shot clock, or oftentimes at the end of the game, you run a play for a shot, and oftentimes the defense is good enough to take that away, and somebody's got to go make a play. And, you think about Trey's play at the end of the Villanova game at Villanova to win the game. You need guys that have the capability to do that. And Jemiah has the ability to do that. He can get his own shot. He can create space for himself and for other people. And I think from a rebounding and defensive standpoint, he'll replace some of the things that we lost with Trey and Baylor.
Before we finish up here, I want to talk about a few things in college basketball and athletics and so forth. First, I don't know if I ever asked you this. Are you in favor of expanding the NCAA tournament?
I probably am one of the coaches, and I think a lot of coaches think don't mess with it. I would probably like to see it expanded. And the reason being, it's an incredible experience for the young people to get to take part in it. And I don't care if you're the team that gets sent to Dayton for the first 4, or you're the number, you're a top 3 seed in the tournament. I just think the excitement and the energy and the memories that come with that are life. They last your entire life. So, men's basketball, I think, has the fewest percentage of teams that go to their national tournament of any other sport. So why not give more teams the opportunity? And what is that number? Is it 20 more teams? Is it 30 more teams? You go to 96. I mean, nobody really knows for sure, but I think giving young people that experience is still what college athletics is all about. And I think it's going to end up being the same when you get down to the Sweet 16 anyway, and the final 32. But yeah, I'm probably a proponent of giving more opportunities to these young people. I mean, we're living in a world. the way the transfer portal rules have changed and NIL, like it's about the athletes, and it's about making sure that they're having a great experience. And the one thing I don't think we do in men's basketball is give enough teams the opportunity to experience postseason play versus 360 some teams, and only whatever percentage of that's a very small percentage that make the tournament. So I think anything we can do to increase and enhance opportunities for young people to experience something like that, I think it's in the best interest of college athletics.
Now you go to 96 teams, you're going to put a lot of bracketologists out of work, which is probably a good thing. Well, we had this news coming down, and it's still very muddy. I don't know if you've had a chance to sort through it all with the players now being paid, chunks from Power Four, and on and on and on and on. What's your general thought of the whole thing?
Yeah, I think everybody thought it was coming, that revenue sharing was on the horizon. I don't think anybody knows exactly how it's going to work. We're raising funds anyway, you put together a team, then you have to figure out how to pay for it. And now is the university going to be a little bit more involved in that part of it moving forward after this coming season? And nobody really knows if it's going to be fall of 25 or 26 when it's going to hit. But, we have to position ourselves so that we can remain competitive. My fear is, with some of the rule changes, that the gap between the haves and the have-nots continues to grow. That gap widens and it continues to grow larger. I'm hopeful that, like with the NIL, I think we had some foresight. I give Alan Huss a lot of credit for when he was here. He did a lot of research, and he and I had a lot of conversations about how we needed to position ourselves to be competitive, and we have been. And we just have to make sure we're ahead of the game in this next one as well, so that when revenue sharing hits, that as an institution and an athletic department, we're ready to deal with it, so that we can continue to compete with the top people in the country. Because we build a program that's consistently competing in the top 25, and we'd like to do whatever we can to stay there.
Well, you're such a fan of all the sports that one of the cool things I saw was baseball, for instance, now can give scholarships to everyone, which is way overdue, and especially a place like Creighton, where it's not exactly cheap to go to school.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see if that passes. That's one of the proposals. The football folks are really fighting that.
Sure.
They probably rely on a walk-on program more than any other sport. And if those scholarship limitations, that you're going to add more scholarships on one hand, but you're also you really are taking away walk-ons, because you have a roster size with. In football, they're saying 85 scholarships, and you can only have 85 people. Baseball, if you go to a certain number of scholarships, that's how many people you can have on your team. Basketball, maybe it goes to 16, but you have 16 scholarship players, period, you're done. So we'll see if that passes. I think the football people will fight long and hard to make sure that doesn't happen. I think people in Nebraska especially are aware of the long history of success with the walk-on programs with University of Nebraska and their football program, guys that have turned out to be great NFL players that started as a walk-on. So I think football is really going to fight that. We'll see what happens there.
Before we let you get out of here, I want to just talk a little bit about the schedule. So we're going to go to the Vegas tournament, which obviously only makes sense with the NIL component and so forth. Speak a little about that, and a schedule that we start off. We knew we were going to Alabama, and then all of a sudden we get Kansas. We knew we had Nebraska, and pretty soon this is turning into a pretty powerhouse schedule like the Maui year.
Yeah, I think it's even better than the Maui year. As you consider how good some of these teams are, it appears that Houston is probably going to end up on our side of the bracket in Vegas, and I think they're ranked in the top 5 as well. So. It was hard for me to say no to when the opportunity presented itself. And to be honest, we pursued them when I saw there was only 7 teams in. I got Murph on it, and Murph connected some dots and got us in front of the right people. It just was, to your point, it makes too much sense. And, is it all going to happen like they say it's going to happen? I sure hope so, because obviously I've upset some people in the industry by doing what we did. But I have a hard time looking our booster base in the face and keep asking them for resources to fund NIL, and then go back to them and say, oh, by the way, I had a chance to get $1 million for our NIL, and we decided not to do it. That puts me in a really tough spot. And obviously the teams are great. I think they'll continue to be really good. We'll see what's going to happen moving forward, but we felt it like it was something that we had to do, and hopefully it all works out and it can be a win-win for everybody involved.
You mentioned Houston on your side of the bracket. Have they determined, is it going to be an 8 team? Is it going to be 2 4s?
I don't think they have determined it. I think there's probably a release coming out sometime the next 10 days or so. There are 2 Big Ten teams and 2 SEC teams, so they're going to have to split it up. Whether it's a round robin situation, you just pick 3 games you're going to play. I wouldn't be crazy about playing Alabama,
Right.
a second time in really 2 weeks' time. So I don't know what they're going to do this year, and I think that will be properly communicated hopefully in the next 10 days. But as of right now, we don't know for sure either. But that's my assumption.
Well, 5 days in Vegas is a long time, Coach.
Yeah, I know it is. I'm well aware, and as you know, my experience in Vegas the last couple of winters hasn't exactly been great. So, for me to make that decision to go back, there had to be a pretty good carrot at the end of it.
Did you say, hey, we'd love to do this? Can we play in LA or something?
Yes, anywhere but Vegas. Anywhere but Vegas. But it'll be a great tournament. I'm sure it'll be well run, and obviously provide a lot of exposure for our guys.
Hey, Coach, thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate it, and have a great summer.
All right, you as well.
Thanks, man.